Hello, gentlemen and lady. It is good to see you again in an episode of NFL Week 13 Chop Talk, brought to you by the one, the only DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports from MMA to PGA. We've got you covered, content, tools, and coaching. Thousands of members constantly talking DFS, daily fantasy sports, 24/7 to help you become a better player through groupthink, as well as we have experts, 20 coaches, 40 staff in every sport imaginable to DFS that are in the rooms, in our chat rooms, constantly guiding our players, answering questions, and providing feedback, helping coach you on bankroll management, contest selection, all of those things to make you a better player, get you to stop redepositing as often, and then start working on becoming a profitable player by plugging the leaks in your boat and kicking the water out that's sinking you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to dive in to the NFL. We're going to talk box checkers for Week 13 very, very early this week, but I got a couple of things I got to clean up on first. Number one, head to the comments section. Click the link, become a VIP today, dfsarmy.com. Use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, for that 10% off discount that sticks with you as long as you stay a member. Number two, I said lady because I know there's at least one of you out there. Thank you very, very much. Tell your friends I want more women watching my content. I know you play DFS. I know you guys, gals, love to talk your sports in some cases. Please get in here because honestly, if I can find a flirty woman that can talk a little bit of smack and take some of the locker room talk from us crazy chauvinistic men, and some of you out there can do it, I relish the opportunity to promote you, to work with you, and you would become a goddess inside our community. I promise you that. So I'm looking for you guys all the time. Thank you for following me. Thank you for clicking the like and subscribe button and ringing the little notification bell so you get the content the minute it comes out. If you haven't noticed, and I've been talking about it for a few weeks now, I have a sweeps, a December sweeps. What we got? 2 days left. Get in here and retweet this pinned tweet right here. Sometimes you'll see me ask for others down in here, but retweet the pinned tweet. I will add these names to my list, and we will draw 2 names out of a hat that will win a free VIP membership to DFSArmy.com. You don't have to be a member, but you can be a member. I'll comp your sub too. All I want is to retweet to help me spread the word. What I've done is I've dove into the DFS diary, which I'll show you briefly if you've never clicked on it. It's a little bit of related content, but it is mostly video content throughout the week, slate breakdowns throughout the week with some graphics and some research thrown in there so that you can see, along with a little bit of the articles that we produce inside DFSArmy.com, a little strategy talk with ladder talk, etc. And every day I add to what I've done. This video will go in there today under November 28th. Scroll down, find the video, and give me a watch that way if you don't watch it directly through Twitter, which Twitter isn't great for videos anyway. It's a bad format, but YouTube has a following, and I'm hoping to use Twitter to spread the word through social media and get people watching these videos because I believe that they do help. The Hurry Up Offense is another great article. If you haven't seen this is the old wishbone concept passed off because I don't have the time to commit to it anymore, and we've done the Hurry Up. It has a little bit of weather in it for you. Mark is a great addition to what we've been doing for NFL. A super quick look at the NFL slate. What games are we keying on and why? What players, expensive, mid-range, and cheap, are we keying on and why? Great article there. And then of course we have our podcast that just dropped for Week 13 NFL as well. So head out to Twitter, give me a follow out there, and then look through the DFS Army for some of the content that we'll be dropping throughout the week. VIP only stuff will be dropping starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What we're going to do first, we're going to set all that up. If you haven't looked at the Hurry Up, we're going to dive into box checkers. I'm going to knock your player pool out here in just, minutes, okay? So grab a pen, grab a paper. Grab a paper, and I'll show you just like ladies. Singular terms today only, no plural for this guy. Let's dive into the quarterbacks, right? The first thing that we look for, if you haven't seen my box checker criteria, let me find it for you. Pull that up. Quarterbacks, home, favored, over 24 points implied, over 26 is even better. Top 10 in QBR, you can find that at Google searching total QBR. It'll take you right to ESPN.com, and you can double check the efficient quarterbacks there. Efficiency matters at the quarterback spot. Running back, home favorite, 18 plus touches. We can find that in our research station if we scroll over to the right. Red zone work, third down work. We want to make sure they're not going to get game scripted out of a game like a Leonard Fournette or a Marshawn Lynch or some of those guys, or Adrian Peterson. don't get a lot of passing down work. Those guys, when a team falls well behind, can be factored out, or their touches can be reduced. They won't completely disappear, but they can be reduced. Somebody even like a Nick Chubb can be reduced. Although Nick Chubb, I saw a neat stat by Adam Levitan that said that Nick Chubb is one of about 8 players that has 40% of the team's touches in the last few weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that, along with like a Christian McCaffrey and a couple other guys that might surprise you a little bit that are getting a lot of the workload. We need to start keying in on those guys because they're priced according to where their season averages have been. And as their workload role grows, then they become underpriced for the opportunity that they receive. And that's how we find value in daily fantasy sports. Wide receivers, 8 targets, red zone work. Road dog does help for garbage time. Under 8, the extremes. Under 18 implied team total for the offense. Over 27 implying the shootout. These are factors that we sort of look for. Right now, I'm just using our catch-all metric, sticky hands. I'm just sorting by that because it's as good as any. No need to break this down too seriously. Tight ends, we do go back to the home and favored bit. And the high implied team total, that's where tight ends tend to succeed when there's enough love to go around that they scoop up a little bit of it. And we want the typical tight end that works like a receiver. He's going to get the targets. He's going to red zone work. On the road or not this week, it's probably a Eric Ebron week with Jack Doyle out. There are cheaper guys, I'm sure, but we know that Eric Ebron has double touchdown, 2 touchdown upside any given week, just the way they use him in that offense. He's probably cheap. Price has not gone up with Doyle being back in the mix. He's been a little bit of a coin flip lately, but now he gets all the run because Doyle is out. Another one to look for, obviously, Austin Eckler. Maybe Naeem Hines if Marlon Mack isn't playing this week. There are some things to watch for, and those are the types of roles we're looking for as we get later and later in the season to open up the value so that we can then roster the stud players that are going to give us the floor plus the week winning upside that we look for when we roster our teams in DFS. Now, there's a lot of stuff to dig into. So defense is really easy. Favored by more than 6. Low implied opponent team totals, under 22, under 20, and under 18. Knock that out in like 2 seconds flat. That's an easy one to figure out. It's a volatile position. Don't think that this is some foolproof method. But typically, these parameters offered up by Chris Raybon at 4 for 4 last year when he worked for them. Now, what's he work for Action Network or whatever? Dude is a savant, and he has knocked these categories down in a lot of cases to the players that hit these categories. If you can find players that check all of these boxes, hence box checkers, you find players that can then historically bring value very, very consistently. And that's really all we want. That's what we want for our cash games. It's not what we want for our GPPs. We want to hit the home run. But for our cash games, we just want to hit value across the board with all of our positions. That's typically the philosophy. So let's kick that out of there, bring back the box checkers, and dive in with our quarterbacks. First thing we're going to do is get our spread knocked down, filter the numbers down less than 0. That brings only our favorites to the top. Implied team total, remember, over 24, so greater than about 23.5. And that's going to cut out some of these low dogs. Most of the time, a quarterback, have you noticed this year? Adam Levitan pointed this one out on Twitter. If you guys don't follow these guys, you're missing out some key information. Adam Levitan pointed out that you have quarterback spreads. I think it's some like 10, 15 guys or more scored over 20 points. If you've got that many people scoring over 20 and nobody really scoring over 35 or 40, they all get kind of conglomerated or kind of clogged up in that 20 to 30 range, then pay down, dude. Wait in your season-long fantasy draft next year. You don't need a quarterback until late. They're all due about the same damn thing. But from, like a Baker Mayfield all the way up to a Drew Brees, most of the time they fall in that little channel of 20 to 30 points, tend to pay down. Now, you're going to pay down more on DraftKings than you are on Fanduel because they offer the bonuses. And what that allows you to do when you pay way down at quarterback is pay up in other positions that earn you the 100-yard bonuses more often as well. That doesn't work like that on Fanduel. On Fanduel, we do want to pay up a little bit, but we don't want to pay up a ton. And these salaries have become really pounded together to where there's not really a lot of value. So the difference between, say, 9,000 and 8,400 can be huge. So let's take a look. Remember, we favor home teams. So we're not really going to, it's not like Patrick Mahomes is bad. He just becomes a little more of a GPP because historically the road quarterback's a little bit more volatile when it comes to bringing value. And at 9,500, my God, can the kid get you 30 points? Absolutely. But, I mean, if he gets you 23, he didn't do you any good because Jared Goff can get you 23. Deshaun Watson can get you 20. And you're going to bring back the same type of value on your dollars spent in those, and you're going to be able to afford better running backs and things. So you need to save these more for your GPPs. It's not that Mahomes isn't a great quarterback, it's that he's too damned expensive. The Rocket Arm rating system is a metric that will show you, kind of take all these things into consideration: home, road, spread, implied team total, DVP, fantasy points allowed to the position, how many times he throws the ball, how efficient he is, etc. Puts different weights and measures across those categories and comes up with a overall rating, matchup rating system, how he should perform this week. If we ran that slate 100 times, in theory, Cam Newton's going to finish at the top of the pack. Mahomes, Russell Wilson in the matchup he's in today. These are going to be your top 3 or 4 quarterbacks week in and week out, or not week in and week out, but run in and run out if we ran the slate, say, 1,000 times the way that it's set up right now. That's what you're after. Doesn't mean you can't catch the outlier where Russell Wilson only brings you 12 points. Doesn't mean you can't catch the outlier where he brings you 40 either. Those exist. But generally speaking, he's going to be about the 2nd or 3rd or 4th rated scoring quarterback on the week this week. That's all that means. So we're going to look for the higher ratings possible. We're going to look for the quarterbacks that are in good spots. Cam Newton, obviously, these are your playables, right? Any of them pretty much are playable. What I'm going to do is scroll over a little bit to fantasy points allowed. I love this number. And I'm going to see Cam Newton in a smash spot. Tampa Bay gives up points to quarterbacks. We know that. They're secondary blows. I'm also looking a little bit at Jared Goff, a little bit at Mahomes, although he's too expensive. Down here, maybe at Russell Wilson. There, I mean, we've just nailed the picks of the week. Now we know who to play. You've got 3 or 4 quarterbacks you can worry about. Done. Move on. Ignore the rest. If you don't ignore the rest, and a couple of these guys are on the road, I would consider Cam on the road this week. What is there a home? Russell Wilson at home. Other than that, these guys typically are not going to be in as good a spot. Therefore, they become GPP type picks. If you really, really want to use them, you put them in your GPP lineups and run them out there and hope that they hit. But in your cash lineup, you're trying to find the safest, period. Safest quarterback on the list, period. For the money. And I'm looking right now at probably Cam Newton, even though he's on the road. 8,700. Russell Wilson, 7,700 with a rushing floor. It's going to probably come down to those 2, maybe an outside shot at Goff. There's my 3 quarterbacks. I'm done. I'm out. See ya. It's that simple. Running backs. Where am I going to go? Again, I'm going to go to spreads. I want them favored. So I'm going to cut this down to less than 0. I want them getting work. If I really wanted to, I could scroll over here to the stats. Rushing attempts per game, put it at about 15 because I want to see 3 or 4 targets per game or receptions per game, right? And those would be the quarterbacks getting the 18 plus touches. Let's go ahead and do that today. Actually, let's just sort by descending. We don't need point spreads here. We want a bigger point spread. We can look at that. We don't have to sort by that. We want a higher implied team total, but again, it's not absolutely critical. It stands to reason. If you're supposed to score a lot of points and you've got a big spread, then you're going to be grinding the clock out late. We can see that without having to sort for it or filter for it. So let's just sort by rushing attempts, and let's see who the big dogs are. Gurley, Connor, Hunt, Lamar Miller, believe it or not, Chris Carson, Sony Michel, Marlon Mack, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram. Imagine that. They're tied. Imagine that, even split in that committee. Patrick Lindsay, and we're going to look for who can we reasonably count on to get a secure workload in a good matchup, in a good spot, and who is feasibly priced or reasonably priced. And I'm going to look at the receptions. Add to the 19 touches about 4 receptions. You get 23 touches a week out of Todd Gurley. You get about 20 a week out of James Conner. You get, what, about 18. Nothing here in the passing game, really. So you'd have to watch Chris Carson, Sony Michel, Marlon Mack. These are guys with passing down backs in the depth chart behind them, right? That when the team falls behind, these guys sort of get left out. Of course, your Christian McCaffrey's in there. And lately, with 13, 14 touches, this is early in the year when he wasn't getting the touches. He's probably more like 14, 15, 16 over the past 3-4 weeks. Give him that 7 targets. 7 receptions per game, you're at 20 touches with Christian McCaffrey. Who knew? What I hate is that he gets vultured on the goal line by Cam, but lately he hasn't been. It's a little bit of a fluky situation and one that is maybe not quite ultra safe, but it's pretty safe now. Alvin Kamara, of course, with the receptions. He's at 20 touches per game. Break a slate wide open. 16 touches, Dion Lewis. Don't know that I'm going to touch him. But this is an idea. So these top portion of guys are who I'm looking for. I would throw Austin Eckler in there if he's not in there this week. Oh, we've cut out the underdogs. So is San Diego an underdog? No. Is San Diego on a bye this week? Maybe that's the case. However, jumping back in here to the truck stick rating, that's another metric like Rocket Arm. We're looking for guys like Kareem Hunt, Todd Gurley, of course, Lamar Miller in a great matchup against Cleveland. I don't know why. Cleveland typically does not allow a lot of fantasy points. Oh, I guess they do. Boy, I thought they were a little tougher against the run. But see, that's why we check these things every week. We would also look down here at Philip Lindsay. Cincinnati's been getting demolished. Maybe a little Frank Gore. Frank Gore's a good pickup this week, by the way. With who went out? Fournette. Getting suspended anyway, so a 1 week pop on Frank Gore. No, it's Kenyon Drake territory. Why? Frank Gore was a decent pickup in fantasy season-long leagues. We need to look into him and assess that situation a little bit better. Aaron Jones against Arizona. These are the spots that I'm looking for. Very, very intriguing. The fantasy points allowed is just a pure number, man. I love results. I know you don't want to necessarily game log hunt, but I love results. So, again, these are the guys that I'm typically looking for. Don't mind Lamar Miller so much, although he's typically a floor guy, not really a ceiling guy. Watch him bust through this week. But if I'm looking at, and salary's down. Look at that salary at $6,300. Kareem Hunt, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara. These are guys I might start with. It might be a pay up. What's the spread in 10-point spread for LA going into Detroit? And Detroit gives up some points to running backs, right? You know, bottom third of the league. That's a pretty good spot for Todd Gurley. Might consider paying up if enough wide receiver value opens up. Of course, we would go up and snap him up. But at $10,000, it's a big ask. We're going down a little bit in quarterback. If we stay down here a little bit, I could probably take 3 of these medium guys, maybe a Lamar Miller in the flex type option, maybe an Aaron Jones. If I went Aaron Jones, I'm going to watch that Marlon Mack news because Naeem Hines would be in a decent spot. Aaron Jones, Philip Lindsay, Lamar Miller, Kareem Hunt, maybe not James Conner this week. You know, but there's a short list, 4, 5, 6 guys that are going to be just fine for you. Some of them are going to perform very, very well. So again, you've got your list where you got 3 quarterbacks and about 6 running backs right now, and then add in a couple of your own. Let's go to wide receivers. Fluky position to predict. I just take this generally and sort straight up by sticky hands rating. That's, again, the catch-all metric. Takes in a little bit of red zone work, a little bit of receptions, targets per game, air yards, those types of things, those buzzword stats. And we see Amari Cooper up there at the top. Why? New Orleans secondary. Hello. Cole Beasley for dirt ass cheap. That's an interesting one. I would be looking at the cornerback wide receiver matchup rating down here when it comes out on Friday or Saturday. I would definitely set aside some time to pick through that and figure out who has the matchup. Amari Cooper's been doing well in Dallas. That is true. He's underpriced for his production in Dallas. That is true. Cole Beasley is a sneaky little play. When Cole Beasley scores a touchdown, he usually scores a second one. If you can pick that game and pin that thing down right, man, you get a low own. People are going to be flocking to Amari Cooper. I don't know why that's popping to me, but it is. The secondary's not good. He's dirt cheap. He might be my punt play this week. That would be a lot of fun. Can I use him in cash? He runs in the slot. Let's see how many targets he gets per game. Scroll over to the right. Red zone, where are you? Just regular stats. Receptions per game for Cole Beasley. Air yards are weak at 40. Air yards are weak for Amari Cooper too, but a lot of that's got Oakland stink still on it. Only 5.5 targets per game. It's low volume. Again, if we wanted to, we could sort by this number. And let's see who has the high sticky hands rating and who's getting the target love. 11, down to about 8 or so. We've got enough data in here. We can get all the way down into here. Down to about Kenny Golladay. That's great. Kenny Galladay's got 60% of the air yards in Detroit since Golden Tate evacuated and Marvin Jones Jr. has fallen into injured reserve. He's all they got left. They had a three-way split, and now he's the only thing they got left. They're forcing the ball to him, Megatron style. So I would definitely be considering that. But look, Stephon Diggs, Julio Jones, these are the guys getting all the targets. Let's take this in conjunction. And I'll show you how to filter this one out, the rank. Let's filter by greater than 20. Let's only get those high targets running up against the teams that are giving up mega points. So where did we go here? Oh, we lost a few of the big dogs. But these are some spots. Does this make sense to you? I don't care necessarily about Vegas lines, home, away, any of that with receivers. I would look at the team total for over 27 and for like here in Funchess in Carolina. For under 18, like some of these guys, maybe Jermaine Kearse, Larry Fitz in a garbage time role, not bad. Quincy Enunwa, not a factor really. So these are things that will catch my eye as the week goes on. But for right now, I'm just trying to think of ways to cut this list down. And so sticky hands rating is great, but let's look at targets per game, or I guess receptions per game, and then whatever one we just did. And then let's cut that down to only the teams giving up tons of fantasy points to the positions. And we can use our filters to do that. And then this poof, here's our list. Odell Beckham, if you trust Eli. DeAndre Hopkins might be in a slightly sneaky spot, although he's pricey. Mike Evans in a good spot again. Golden Tate maybe. Corey Davis. Man, that guy's inconsistent. Carries a high sticky hands rating this week, though, so he's worth looking into. Kenny Golladay, of course, will be on that list, 7,300. Alshon Jeffrey, don't really know. The guys here in Carolina, the guys getting targeted anyway. I don't, again, it's a pretty crappy list week in and week out. That's why wide receiver gets to be so difficult sometimes. You get down here and Amari Cooper not getting a lot of targets, but he's getting a high rating. Adam Humphries is cheap. Well, he came up to 6,000. Probably rather have Cole Beasley at 5,000 this week. Bruce Ellington, probably not. Christian Kirk in a garbage time role again, possible. But again, these guys are not getting enough workload. They've got very, very low floors. If you want the higher floor, I guess we just have to get rid of the fantasy points allowed. Clear that filter off. Thought we were onto something there, and we kind of were. We saw a few names. We go back to pure receptions, pure targets, and just look down this list. Diggs, Jones, Thielen. Look for somebody who's out of place, out of price. Jarvis Landry. Man, has he fallen. Woo! No sticky hands rating either, but getting a ton of targets at 5,500. Man, more of a GPP play. 7,200 is pretty reasonable for Juju Schuster. 6,100 for Golden Tate. I don't know how I like his fit in that offense right now. 7,200 Julian Edelman got in the end zone last week. Corey Davis, Kiki Kuti, questionable. So again, not a lot to love. This is going to take a lot of digging. So we'll just move on for now. You've got a few names that may be popped. When it's that wide open, that volatile, that unpredictable, that unsafe, or we don't have a clear path, whatever term you want to use, I tend to pay down as much as I can. So I do believe Cole Beasley will be a factor of mine this week. And I don't think anybody else is going to be on him. And I'm not saying he's going to score 2 touchdowns. I'm saying look out, though, if he scores 1. Watch out. Spread. We want to go favored again with tight ends. We already know who we're going for with tight ends. I mean, come on. I'm just going to run straight to Ebron. I don't care what his price. 5,600. Jeez. That's way too cheap. I bet Njoku's higher than that, who we've been using for a while. Team total over 24, just to see if somebody else doesn't pop. Kelsey, Ertz, Ebron, shocker. Gronk, underpriced if they're going to be using him like they were last week. Greg Olsen, massive rating against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Do you trust him like you trust an Ebron? Do you trust him like you trust a Travis Kelsey? 6,050, that's $400 difference. I don't know. Maybe to be contrarian because he won't be as highly owned. And he's not maybe like he was a couple of years ago, but he's solid. I'd rather take Ebron as 2 TD upside, though. Let's look at the fantasy points given for tight ends. Tampa Bay, Boom! There's your Olsen play. Woo! Ebron 16, so middling is Jacksonville. Not great, not bad. I think matchup's a little bit overrated, except when you see a really, really, really juicy one. So Olsen's probably in play. Travis Kelce, if you pay up, let's look down this way a little bit more. Look for anybody dirt cheap. See, in this $5,000, $5,300 range, Ben Watson, Vance Mc, screw that. Ebron. These are tourney plays big time. Down here, even cheaper, Vanette, James, Higbee, Darnold. Josh Reynolds is a name I'd be looking at if I was looking at wide receivers again. As far as a cheaper wide receiver that's getting a little bit of run the past few weeks, it's not going to show up maybe on season-long numbers. Josh Reynolds of the Rams, that'd be somebody I'd be looking at for a cheap receiver. So anywho, just looks like we're paying up at tight end again, or we're taking Ebron in cash. That's as sensible as it gets. You could talk a little bit of Greg Olsen maybe before you went all the way up to a Travis Kelce or a Zach Ertz. But Travis Kelce in a smash spot against Oakland, very, very hard. It's been a Tyreek Hill week the past couple of weeks. Maybe that's your exposure. That's a weird way to get exposure to Mahomes, but if he has a huge game, maybe Kelce slips off with a touchdown or two and 100 yards. Could definitely be feasible. Maybe, God, at a 17.8 in the targets, he might be better than a lot of the $7,800 wide receivers. So you might punt a wide receiver down at 5K like a Reynolds or a Cole Beasley or something like that, and then pay up at your wide receiver with a floor like a Travis Kelce. That's a little construction tip for you. Some weeks it's important. Coming to defense. Super simple. Told you we'd bust this one up real fast like. So we go to the Vegas lines, and we want the favorites. Remember? But we're going to search by underdogs this time because I don't want this team. I want this team. I want the opponent. That's the defensive special teams defense I want, right? I don't necessarily want this guy because that's the crappy team I'm looking at. So I want to turn this instead of the favorite into the underdog. Sort ascending. Bring all the big dogs to the top. Descending, my bad. Needs to be red up top. There. 15-point underdog Oakland. Kansas City defense in play. 14, 10, 10, 10, 7, 7, 7. Anything over about 6 is a big enough spread that it tips us off to the defense. It's game script wise telling us that the quarterback should be throwing the ball late in the game and feeding our defense. That's where turnovers happen. That's where sacks happen. When we don't have to worry about the run anymore, we can just worry about the pass. We can fall back into coverage and just pin our ears back and go get the quarterback. Now, the over-under, the team total, we're looking for under 22, under 20, under 18 is really, really strong. So there, Arizona and New York Jets, big spreads, low team totals. So Green Bay and Tennessee are your defenses to target this week. There they are. And if I scroll down and look at Green Bay and Tennessee, they should be down somewhere in this list. Green Bay and Tennessee, down here at the very, very bottom, 4,400, priced up. Fanduel's getting smart. That's what we're looking for. 18, yeah, it's in play. Seattle's defense is in play. Philly's defense a little. 17.5, Miami defense, well, facing Buffalo. We've been nailing them all year, right? Under 20, Denver. Backup quarterback with Andy Dalton missing. There's a tricky little spot. That's an interesting GPP spot right there. And what's Denver's price? Oops. 4,500. Damn. Hard to find these cheaper defenses. If we come down here a little bit and look for some of these defenses, Pittsburgh wasn't probably the target. New England probably not the target. New Orleans probably not the target. As far as their defenses are concerned, 4,100. LA Rams versus Detroit, maybe. But I'm going to just probably pay that in mid 4K range. That's probably where I'm going to wind up. And I'm going to be targeting these opposing teams right here with my defense. So these are the teams that are largely going to be in play for me, and your defenses are done. I would find the cheapest one in that category right there. Write them out, list them out if you have to. It looks like New Orleans is technically in play, but Dak doesn't turn the ball over a ton. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I'd be probably right in this top 5 range, and I'd just pick the cheapest one and roll with it. Pretty simple, guys. That's box checkers. It's not a hard method. It's going to show you a little bit, get you thinking along the right lines, get you looking for value, get you looking for the right people, and it just cuts your playlist down from about 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs. You probably find 5 to 10 wide receivers super easy, maybe a couple of tight ends, 3 tight ends, 2 or 3 defenses, and you're done. You don't need to leave that list the rest of the week. It's over. It's done. What we'll do is we'll come back today. We'll do an NBA video probably. We'll talk about maybe contest selecting, building multiple lineups. I got that request in a YouTube comment. I really appreciate that. That'll be something that I focus on in our next video, making multiple lineups and contest selecting accordingly, because there's a lot of different ways you can go when you're doing the ladder strategy. If you want to know what the ladder strategy is, you scroll down a little bit further below today's content. You'll find what are ladders. It's a little bit of a section, a couple articles, and a video that talks a little bit about using them and employing them and why they work so well for DFS Army members. Speaking of DFS Army, if you want to become a member and access the real-time coaching and not have to sit and just listen to me talk to you, you want to actually ask me questions, ask our other coaches. I am a jack of all trades, master of none. I can get you off the ground and get you running very, very quickly, but when you grow beyond me into the intermediate and the expert type play, you need our expert coaches, and I can pass you right off to, I know them all personally. I know exactly who excels at what, cash, GPP, basketball, PGA, whatever, and I can direct you right to the guy, put in a good word for you, and get him giving you the attention that you're investing in your own game. That's why you need to become a VIP. DFSArmy.com, the comment section has the link. Coupon code CHOP, CHOP. Trigger that 10% off. Get your butt in here today. Help me out on Twitter. Pin that, that pinned tweet. Help me retweet that tweet. Spread the word. Find more people. The more people I find, the more I'm giving away in January. So you got to, it is the season to be giving, is it not? You got to get in here and you got to help me help you. Listen to Jerry Maguire. Help me help you, Rod. Help me help you. This has been Box Checkers Week 13. I'm Choppadong. DFSArmy.com brought this information to you through its research station. I'm out of here. We'll see you in the NBA video here in a little while.